Alright guys, hello, welcome. Today I'm recording a video which explains how to set up a Mac for developers and let's get started with it. So first things first, I think before we start doing anything else, this is what we should do. Rather they call it doc in Mac terms. So probably we can hide doc so that we get maximum view of our screen. And yeah, that is what I prefer. People have different opinions also. So this is one of the options which you can try out. Then I think second thing which we should do is having like signing in with the iCloud account. Because, so this is base of everything because most of the tools you'll be installing will install via App Store or from somewhere where we'll need iCloud login or IDES login. Moving on to the next one, as you can see on the screen, Xcode. Xcode is uh, an IDE which is used for iOS or Mac OS development, and this has a lot of tools. Mostly, I have not seen a lot of developers use this for any other programming languages. So I think it works well with Swift. Let me talk about briefly why this is a prerequisite before we install anything else. So Apple has this tightly coupled ecosystem with Xcode that it bundles certain binaries with Xcode, which are I think C or C hash binaries, which are needed for you to install some third-party applications or work with some third-party applications. So first thing first, we need to install Xcode. Any version of the Xcode, I would say go for the latest if you are doing so. So once we are done with the Xcode, what we need to do next is install Homebrew. Homebrew is nothing but a package manager for Mac OS, and consider it like a if you are from npm or rather Node.js background, consider this as an npm for Node.js. It is similar. You will get to install a lot more binaries and tools with the help of Homebrew. So consider installing Homebrew, and post that you can I mean, there are multiple tutorials which will help you get onboarded with Homebrew, but this is a brief introduction of it. And then probably what I would say is to install next is Git on your system. I think Git, I don't need to give an introduction. Git is your VCS, which helps you collaborate and then have your source code version. So you need to install Git and then some few other plugins if you want along with Git. One of my favorite plugin to use along with Git is Tick. So basically, let me show you what Tig helps you with. So this is one of my projects. If I simply type Tig, it gives you a version history of basically all the commits and then everything in a more human readable form. Oh wait, okay. Let's not go into what this commit does. Okay, all right. So has like this is one of the functionalities. Tig has a lot more to offer. So probably you can install Tig if you are planning to use Git also. I think with Git, probably what you want to set up is Git ignore as well. I mean, not giving reference of here, but you can try to have a global Git ignore which just ignores your IDEA files or VS Code files, all those projects, right? Because basically your ID as well as let's say there are some .env files or something if you are working with React. So you can set up a global Git ignore if you want. Otherwise, let's go on to the next setup of tools. So next I would say install whatever browser you're comfortable with, because if you're a front-end developer, you're definitely going to need it. So you can go with any of these, and then probably what I'll try to go next is if you're a back-end developer or a front-end developer and even have a little bit of interaction with your terminals, I would suggest to go for item 2. Item 2, as it says, is a replacement for terminal. So I find it quite useful at times. Item 2 gives you a lot more flexibility over your I think over your base terminal, because that has just basic stuff to play around. And with item you get a lot of plugin support as well. Just install item and then a layer above it can be ZSH, right? So uh, people call it differently also, but I call it ZSH, and that is my vocab. So ZSH is something which gives you a shell kind of experience on your Mac terminal. It integrates well with item, so you can use this. And ZSH has like a vast support for plugins. and it has like some very great plugins which will help you with your day-to-day work. So one of these, like if I have to give suggestion, you can install on top of ZSH is ZSH Auto Solutions. So let me show you live what it helps you do. So let's say I do type Z, which is another command. I'll talk about it later. So it suggests me like it gives me some suggestion based on the past history, what I might want to type, or let's say I do CD, then it will give me some other suggestion. So basically, it is a suggestion tool. So this is one of the plugins, and then Oh My Zesh is tool or a plugin you can say that sits on top of ZSH. So yeah, three level of I would say layering, but I mean that this is definitely all these are definitely worth it, and they are going to give you a lot more flexibility in terms of what you want to achieve. So ZSH has is an open source, you can say, a tool to manage your ZSH configuration. Plus, as it says in the document, but what I have seen is that a lot of plugins and a lot of themes which sit on top of Homebrew while you are working at your project. So this is the layout that you are seeing is from one of the plugins or themes that is supported by Homebrew. This makes it very clean. It gives me all the information that I require while working on a project in a brief, right? And it has a lot more to offer. It has great documentation to get started, what themes you can use, what plugins you can use. So you can take a look at this. And then this power level 10K. This is what I was coming to next. So this is another theme which sits on top of ZSH, and it is like it boosts up your terminal. Really, I don't use it personally because I've faced some issues, but it is very popular. As you can see, it has some 25K stars, etc., and a lot of people use it. So you can probably try exploring this. Talking about plugins, ZSH plugins, there is something called FZF. So this helps you do fuzzy search on your code bases. So let's say I want to do play area, I want to search something, right? So I can do all this fuzzy search, and it will keep giving me dynamic options based on the search or the keywords I'm typing in. So this is also one of the great plugin examples for ZSH, or like for Bash, I would say. And yeah, I mean, since we have talked about ZSH and as well as Git, so I would recommend having this plugin set up in your local or in your machine. This basically helps you with some shortcuts for Git. So let's say I want to just check the Git status. I can do GST for Git checkout. I can do so this is my Git commit which I did last. I shouldn't probably talk about it. So then we have git checkout and few others like git commands which are just an alias of your command. Now before talking about it or rather Phil, I would I would talk about few of the things which you can do. So you can install a lot of text editors if you want, such as Sublime, VS Code. I mean, VS Code is not a text editor, but I would say Sublime, and then probably Vim, as well as your maybe Emacs. I don't want to get into the fight whether Emacs is an IDE or a text editor, but yeah, probably Emacs. And then since you'll be working with a lot of programming languages, you can go ahead with the installation of programming languages such as Go, Java, Python, etc. Whatever you want to go ahead with the development. Since you are already installing a lot of programming languages, they have their own setup instructions given in their readmes, etc. You can follow those, and because because what next we are going to do is because we have set up programming languages, we'll be installing some IDEs. I think most popular ones are right now either VS Code or from IntelliJ community. I think IntelliJ IDEA, as well as Go, like probably programming language specific lines such as IDEs, such as for Golang, I think it is Golang. Then for Python, it is PyCharm. So all those, and RubyMine for Ruby, anything of that sort you can install and start with. And I think that should be good enough. Then moving on to the next one, I think what we want is since we have set up programming languages, since we have IDEs set up, what we would probably need next is setting up some DBs, etc. So I think for if you want to set up some SQL DB, you can install a local copy of Postgres. They have their own instructions, and MongoDB if you are a NoSQL user, or you want to use a document database, probably MongoDB. They have their own set of instructions available. You can probably browse through these, and then all right. So and once you have set up DBs, I think you might want, I mean, it depends, but people might want to use UI on top of your SQL databases. So there is something available for free, Valentina, which is a database manager for your SQL databases. So it supports vast type of databases, SQL databases. For NoSQL, I think for MongoDB, etc., there are a lot of UIs available. You can try to install those. And I think apart from all these programming setup, what next we might want to use is maybe set up Docker or Kubernetes. Uh, I mean, not everybody might want to set up Kubernetes, but Docker for sure. So you can head over to Docker, like official documentation, and can install Docker on your local machine. They have a Docker UI as well, which supports a lot of functionalities, etc. So you can probably use Docker as well. And what next we might want is to set up Kubernetes. There are a lot of Kubernetes like tutorials available for Mac and for other platforms as well. So you can follow any of these and then basically learn as well as set up Kubernetes on your local. If you want a tutorial, probably hit me up. Or rather comment down, and then I'll probably create a separate video on the basic setup of Kubernetes or Docker or any of the tools that I'm talking about. So moving on to the next one, I think this is the and most interesting part where we will just talk about few of the utilities that have really helped me along till this point, and I think these are really a great time saver. So I think I have talked about Take. Let me talk about Fig. Yeah, these are not related like by any chance, right? So uh, Fig is a UI for Git, whereas Fig is an autocomplete tool for your terminal. So what do I mean by autocomplete? Let me do this. So yeah, these pop-ups what you are seeing, right? These are not suggestions, but these are actual, these are suggestions not from history, but these are suggestions based on the that files that are lying in my directory, this current directory. So this is a good handy tool which helps a lot. And then similarly I have Flux. So a lot of time, like Flux is just a color manager, or you can say your screen manager, which basically based on certain time or your system time, based on that it basically switches between different daylight saving mode, or rather themes which are easy on your eyes. So yeah, moving on to the next one, I think timeout is a great tool which reminds you to take breaks at certain time intervals based on whatever configurations you have set, right? So you can, as you can see from the demo also, they have quite good onboarding doc, so you can take a look at that. Similarly, we have Rectangle. So I think on Mac there are no inbuilt shortcuts to manage your windows. What I mean by windows is if you are using uh, multiple UIs or multiple things at once, there is no easy way to have shortcuts with which you can just place your one of the windows to the left, one of the windows to the right, and all those stuff, right? So Rectangle helps you with that, and it is pretty useful. I really use it. And then what is Rupa Z? Right. So recently I've seen I have been doing this, right? So let me do this. So you see with the with a command, I have just switched between two directories without doing any cd or something. So based on my previous history as well, it caches directory names, directory paths, and then if I just type z and then the directory name, it basically lands me up there, right? So I mean, it even supports fuzzy search. So if you see, if even if I do half of the alphabets or even if I write half of the words, it takes me way to the place where I want to be. So I think that is mostly it. If you guys thought this was helpful, please hit like and post in the comments what you want to have next on this particular channel. Thank you. And by the way, if you're using any other tool which I have just missed or which have you missed for my lifetime, please write it down. It might help me as well as fellow developers who are gonna check out this.